Hello, fellow Factorians, and welcome back to my Pyanodons challenge run. During the last episode, I worked on the evil side of Pyanodons. I set up Aug breeding, which will inevitably lead to Aug slaughtering, but that was not enough. I also had to add putting the Augs on a treadmill to generate power, basically because I wanted both the power and I wanted the Augs to slim themselves down so they're even easier to butcher and they make less byproducts that I don't have to deal with. So yeah, pretty awful. Anyway, during this session, we're going to be working on some train stuff, so it won't be nearly as gory. And that's what I was focusing on during the hands-off period. I ran around my octagon adding power poles and fixing up the train tracks that were misaligned. I added a bunch of signals everywhere that I thought I needed them, extended out my octagon setup to my first large on-the-train grid blueprint. Yeah, it's going to be even more massive than my previous builds. And fortunately, I've got bots to help me out, put it down, so that's going to be really helpful. I did add all the tracks and put down the landfill just because, that's part of my rules that I'm allowed to prepare the ground ahead of time, but it's all waiting for hands-on mode for me to get to that. So that's what we're going to be tackling. Besides that, science ran fine. My mall was running really well. There are a few bottlenecks inside of it that I will need to address, but nothing mission critical. I noticed a few mistakes, of course, around the base that I'll need to address, but mostly I've been thinking about adjusting how I do this early period. I'm going to be running eventually at a higher ratio of hands-on to hands-off time, so if I kept it this way, the video will be going brr in the background even faster than it already does, and people have mentioned that it gives them that I should be putting in an epilepsy warning for how quickly some of the menus pop in and out. So I'm thinking I might change it to more of a montage with cuts in it rather than a continuous stream of time-lapse video. I had done that because I didn't want anybody to think I was cheating the hands-off period and doing things in the background. But, like if you've been with me for 75 episodes, you're going to kind of have to assume that I'm not cheating my own rules. And if I am, well, shame on me. So yeah, I think for a better viewing experience, I might experiment with a different form of doing this talk section because I would like people to pay attention to it occasionally, although I'll still put in the timestamps so you can skip it entirely if you feel like it. Anyway, let's jump into hands-on mode and get to the actual gameplay. So, trains and bots today. I've really packed everything that's exciting at this stage of the game into one episode, so hopefully you'll be joining me for this one, because, it's not a season finale, but I did give you a bunch of building filler before I got to the really juicy bits. Let's go into hands-on mode and start building out what is probably the most nerve-wracking portion of Factorio for me, the switch to going to your train network. And it's kind of nerve-wracking for me, at least, because you always have this kind of feeling like, am I going to do this right? Am I going to get whatever plan I've got going well? And also, you have to do this period of I'm rebuilding things onto the train network, and I'm not making as much forward progress. Hopefully, I've got a decent plan in mind so that that isn't the case for this run, but yeah, it's always a concern when you're doing trains. So now I've told you the horror story of why to do trains. Trains are fantastic, though, in other ways, because it lets you do end-to-end connections. You get to access train priorities and train interrupts, which is an amazing addition to Vanilla Factorio in 2.0. And I'm going to play with Vanilla Factorio 2.0 trains entirely because I think they're powerful enough to do a lot of what you might want to have done with LTN or Cybersyn nowadays. And I do want to play more vanilla, even though I do let myself add some mods that I think make the game more interesting or in some cases less tedious, like Blueprint Shotgun. Anyway, I've got my assembler here making bots for me, and it's already made me a few, but this is going to slow down because some of these ingredients were already buffered in here. So I want to actually get them going faster. I know that what I can do to make this go faster is to increase the amount of solder and rubber belts I put on the sushi mall, so I'm going to do that. I also really want to have drone recharging stations, roboports, and construction zone extenders inside of this box here. So when I pick up bots, I can also pick up some of these guys. And I've got two of those items on the mall, but one of them, and this is why this is flashing down here, is not on the mall. So the system worked correctly. I don't have that item yet. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and add that item to one of the empty spots that I've left. I also noticed that I don't make steam engines fast enough, weirdly. When I was watching the mall build like the 360 moss farms that I needed, I noticed that the moss farms were running low on steam engines. So I'm going to add some steam engine production here as well, just to double that up. I can't just double the speed of the inserter because, in fact, it's not a assembler speed issue. It's entirely an inserter speed issue. So I'll be right back after I've added the construction zone extenders to the mall. Okay, I've added the construction zone extenders to the mall, and I've told my mall that I can actually make them, so this alert should go away in a minute. And we can move on to the next task that I want to tackle today. Yeah, the alert went away. Next thing I want to do is I want to add coke to my mall. So I've got a little station here set up to pull coke out of this coke oven gas production area. And yeah, I'm going to go do that. Let's make sure that I've got the materials that I need. I think I do. Yeah, I think I do. All right, I'm going to grab a couple more inserters and then run up there. So this is pretty standard. I've got a station here to pick it up, named appropriately. The only weird thing I'm doing is I've made a different decision on how I'm going to avoid splitters on my loading stations. Over here, where was it? In my AUG area, I tried out this, and Simon pointed out that this wiggly setup is not going to work in certain regimes. And I'm going to adjust this one as well, because this one actually just doesn't need that many inserters. I'll be adding very few AUGs to trains, so a few will be fine. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at the flow rate that I have going into a stop. If it's 15 per second, then you can just put like 6 inserters adding to each train, and that loads the train pretty much precisely. It's balanced. But if it's less than 15 per second, you can say, okay, well, in this case, it's going to be 12 per second. And 12 per second is really close to 12 and a half per second. So with 12 and a half per second, 5 inserters on each side would be perfect. And then I'll have 6 for the back end because if it's got a full belt because it was jammed, this side can load a little bit faster. And that should give me an actual reasonably balanced ratio of insertion so that the train cars load roughly in a balanced fashion. It won't be perfect, but it will let me avoid a splitter, and we'll see how this works out because, yeah, I'm going to be trying different design ideas out for efficiency purposes because I love efficiency. Also, in the name of efficiency, I'm going to wipe this out. I built this a while ago as a mistake because I thought I needed to do more coke burning here, and I didn't have enough coke burning capacity. And the mistake was that I'd actually had enough, and what I didn't have enough was steam exiting the system. So I had gotten jammed up and then built this solution, and it was all wrong. And now I'm up here, so I can go ahead and delete it. So I'm going to get rid of this, set up the loading, and be right back. Okay, and that is done. I've got my trains getting loaded, or I don't have the trains yet, but I do have the coke available to load. So now it's time to get to the next step. I need to set up a couple of depots for trains, and I also need to set up this refueling station. And once I've got all that done, then I can start putting trains on the network. This is my refueling stop design. We'll see how this one works out. It can load up to 3 trains simultaneously, which is not a lot, but it is trying to load the trains as quickly as possible and unload the ash, of course. So it's got a total of 10 inserters that can load coke into a single train at once, and that's why it's going to be fed by 2 coke trains coming in. It also would have 1 train that would extract ash, but I don't have any place to put ash on my network, so I'm just going to dump it into the caravan network for now, and then replace this later when I've got some way to get ash out of the system. Let's connect it to some power, and yeah, this should get going. This unloading, it looks very narrow. It's only possible because I have the mod that lets me switch inserter lanes. So this will let me unload at a full 15 per second out of here. There's actually too much loading here. So if all 3 trains were here, they'd be a little bit starved, but that's okay. The entire point is to just get it out of the trains as fast as possible, the coke, and put it into the fuel bunkers. And there'll be a lot of trains switching in and out, so the belts can refill a little bit between trains. Here I'm going to have train depots, just a spot for my trains to go ahead and sit. That right? I think I need that afterwards. Okay. 2 depots for different kinds of trains. One is going to be for fluids, and the other one's going to be for items. Great. And you don't actually need 2 separate depots. The only reason I have 2 separate is because I want to be able to look at my train manager and know how many trains I've got sitting in depots. So that should take care of that, although I do need to grab a caravan and set up the ash disposal. So I'll take care of that, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, now my caravan's set up, and the last step is actually to release the hounds. Yes, the trains can go on the network, and they need to be programmed with their interrupts. And I'm going to entirely circumvent programming them with their interrupts by having a blueprint for it. This may be a little bit cheaty to you. Let's actually grab some trains from a box and then throw it down. But I've come up with the array of interrupts that I think will work out for me ahead of time. And I'm going to, stick with preparation as a way to circumvent my own lack of skill. So let me throw one down, and then we can talk through the interrupts that I've got set up and see how they'll work out for me. I've got all my coke. My coke should be inside of my trash slot because I don't actually want to fill these guys with coke and have them run off. So here's my interrupts and a train group for them. First is a fuel stop. I'm not going to do a full Factorio 2.0 train interrupt and wildcard tutorial here, but this is a pretty standard fuel stop design. If any of your fuel, and maybe I will change to something else, probably not, it'll always be coke, but any of your fuel is less than 40 on a locomotive, and your cargo is empty, go ahead and go to fuel stop until you are fully fueled. So that's one interrupt. Next is a pickup interrupt. If you're empty and one of the pickup stops is not full, go ahead and go to there and fill up your inventory. Then we've got a wildcard enabled drop-off. So this one says if you have cargo in your inventory, any kind of cargo, go to a drop-off that uses that kind of cargo. And I'm basically only going to ever have one type of cargo on a train, with the exception of spoilage happening. So I don't have to filter or anything here, but yeah, go ahead and go to the wildcarded drop-off. So it's, for instance, if I had coke in the train, then this would say coke to locomotive drop-off, and that's exactly what the station would be named. And then get your cargo inventory emptied. Finally, we've got a depot, which says if your cargo is empty and all the pickup spots are full, go to a depot, wait there, and then retest. So I'm going to fill this train up with the, let's see. I'm going to fill up this train with a maximum amount of fuel, or at least enough fuel to get it going. It was already ready to get going. So that train will be able to go and pick up coke. This train will be able to go and pick up coke, etc., etc. Let's get 4 of them going. And then the rest I've got set to get a small amount of coke from blueprint shotgunning them in. Yeah, and then they'll have to wait. Are you all jammed up? Of course I left my train blocking the whole system. But that is a very me thing to do. So I'm going to go down there, get rid of that. my personal taxi blocking all the situation. And fortunately, they didn't run it over. The signaling was correct. And now these guys will all start doing their thing. And we're going to see how it pans out. Actually had a lot more coke in my inventory, so I could have built up quite a few more of these trains. We'll go back to having my taxi here like this. Actually, we'll go back to having my taxi with at least 1 cargo wagon. Because now I've kind of set up a lot of things for a 3-length train, so I might as well take advantage of having some cargo in here. Let's pre-plan and put a bunch of cargo in here for this guy. Because one of the next things I'm going to be doing is acting as a shuttle bus. So yeah, go ahead and take some stuff. Here, what are you waiting for? You want to go to the fueling stop. Oh, that's a thing. Only 2 of these, let's zoom out here. 2 of these are going to be disabled because neither of these coke drop-offs have a train waiting there for them. And I've disabled these 2 fuel stations because of that. The top one from one, the bottom one from the other. This one is fed by both of them, and I didn't want to add more circuit logic to disable this one. But the point is that once I have multiple fuel stations, the fuel stations that don't have a drop-off coke train will disable the stops and basically not be ready to feed trains coming in. Although that shouldn't happen too often because I've set the priority on these train stations high so that that situation doesn't happen. Uh-oh. Yeah, I've got 2 caravans that I destroyed the destinations of, so these guys need a little adjustment. Okay, and those guys are fixed now. I feel like I'm rambling through a lot of topics, probably too much. But hopefully you're keeping up. And ask me questions in the comments or point out that I'm going too fast or should give you guys a little bit more of a heads up on what I'm doing, and I'll try and accommodate. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is working on this massive logs build. This is a logistics level logs build. It's my first logistics science blueprint, and we're not at logistics science yet, so jumped and then got a little bit. But in general, a lot of the work that I'm going to be doing on the train network is going to be preparation rather than needs right now. So I'm okay with having recipes that I'm kind of looking ahead to. This recipe in particular doesn't use ash anymore, which is fantastic. Ash is going to be in lower and lower supply as I need it all for automation science, and I'll also be burning less raw coal and coke and whatever, and I'll have to make ash deliberately rather than having it for free as a byproduct. So it doesn't have ash. What it does instead is use carbon dioxide, muddy sludge, and tree seedlings, of course, and makes trees even faster than the ash recipe, assuming all those things are provided. In fact, it makes it so fast that once I add Mark II tree modules, which is another thing I'm going to lock at the beginning of logistics science, instead of the old setup like I've got over here, where? over here, where it's one nursery to two fastwood forestries, it's going to be reversed. It's going to be two nurseries to every fastwood forestry, and I can wire up and directly insert the seedlings to make sure that the seedlings don't spoil, or at least reduce the chance that they do. And also, have a little bit more direct insertion. This is all fed by a total of 360 moss farms and 160-ish, 164 soil extractors and washers to feed this massive build up here. And I think maybe there are exactly 0 splitters here, because yeah, that's going to be a feature of a lot of my designs. The splitterless direct insertion strategy to mega basing. Anyway, enough talky. What I'm going to do next is I've already asked my mall to build me a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the mall and move it by train myself up to that station. And I'll be back after I've, done some stuff. I realize at the end of the time acceleration, the last few seconds for you guys, when I said I'm going to do some stuff, that was not very clear. What I'm doing is I'm going to be a cargo wagon of my own to come over here and load up these logistics chests with a bunch of the materials that I've pre-made. And this is going to be maybe the last time I do it manually. But yeah, I'm going to run back and forth, collect a bunch of materials, and try and get as close as possible to having this build ready to be constructed by bots and not done by me running it around and blueprint shotgunning. And we'll see how that works out. Need to grab some more stuff, and I'll show you once the bots start flying. Be right back. And now the bots are starting to fly. I've got a little over 100 out here ready to fill up this build. It's still going to probably take them more than an hour, even if I had all the materials on hand, and I don't quite yet. So I'm going to keep making a few runs back and forth. And I'll show off the build when it's working, probably next episode. But let's see, what else should I mention here? The train station setup is entirely bespoke, and that's going to be a feature of many of my builds in the future, because I just don't like doing things all the same. No, it's actually just because I'm playing around with how I feel like doing this, and I'll standardize later. There's going to be 4 loading stations for logs built into this. There's one right here, 2 right here, 1 right here. There's going to be 2 drop-off stations for muddy sludge and carbon dioxide. The muddy sludge I'm making on site, and the carbon dioxide I'm going to bring in on a pipe for real, but there is going to be drop-off stations because muddy sludge and carbon dioxide are also byproducts, and this is a great place to go ahead and void those byproducts. Let's see, what else? Oh, they're also going to feature a new type of train stations, which is a buffered pickup, something else I've learned from Simon, and I'm going to use, although not as often as he does. What I'm going to do is, when trains come to a buffered pickup, they can immediately go off and, deliver their product. But if they don't have a place to deliver, instead of sitting here and saying, okay, I'm going to wait here to deliver, they're going to go to a group of buffer stations, and you can kind of make out the train stacker for the buffer station here. The reason I'm doing it for logs is because I want to measure the amount of logs I've produced. So if I've got a bunch of trains sitting here in buffer stations, it's going to cut off the moss supply to the botanical nurseries, and that'll stop the seedlings from spoiling from too many logs backing up, and then the nurseries can't feed the basswood forestry, so the seedlings spoil, and you just get an endless loop of spoiling seedlings, which is not what we want. So yeah, that's some of the design elements that I've got going on. Although I realize now that I've got a mistake already, because yeah, like I said, I don't test these to exhaustion. I just build them, make sure the ratios are right, make sure the piping is right, and then you end up seeing me test them live in the game. Now, why are these bots not flying? That is a concern of mine. Are you not connected to... Maybe I need a construction zone extender already. All right, I'm going to get a construction zone extender, also go fetch more materials, and I will be right back. All right, here we go. Here's the tidal wave of bots that I was expecting. Yeah, I needed a construction zone extender because the Roboport itself doesn't give me a ton of range, and most of my build is further away from it. So yeah, now I'll be able to see what I'm actually missing and not as the construction zone extenders get deployed. I love the fact that their wire range is exactly half of their construction range, so they can kind of deploy themselves sequentially now that I've got them in the logistics network. I'm going to keep dropping off supplies. For instance, I need to drop off several thousand moss modules here. I need a total of over 5,000 moss modules, and I think I mostly have them here to put into the 300 plus moss farms, and a few other items that I'm carrying on me, like just a ton of mechanical inserters. I've got a few more bots with me, and then we'll end up seeing how this gets built. And the nice part is I can run around and do other things while the mall is doing its thing. Train, why did you go away? You are doing silly stuff. Stop doing that. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to see if there's anything else that I need to build out here or bring out here. Although I don't expect that I will be able to know exactly what I need. I'll check what the logistics requests are saying. There's a lot of alerts going on here, so we'll see what that's all about. But after that, I'll go on to fix-it mode while this stuff happens. See you in a bit. Okay, I think I've loaded this up with either enough stuff or close to it, so I feel good about leaving it to work on itself. And I'm going to go off and do a couple of repair tasks that I need to accomplish. First one is over here in the AUG area. I have managed to contaminate my belt a little bit, or maybe the AUGs were just staging a revolt. But regardless, it means that although I do have plenty of AUGs, like there's just one inserter over here that's set to put onto the belt improperly. I do have to clean this thing out because I've got adults contaminating the children's the AUG pup line. So I'm going to take care of that and then find a couple of other things to fix. I was also fixing this wiggly setup here that I'd had before, and now it should be a little bit better. I guess I can put in the train stops as well. Although, yeah, they're named fine. Okay, great. Okay, and that should be fixed. Off to do the next thing. The next thing is a quick pipe fix in my iron smelting area, the one that's making me molten iron. I'll take care of that real quick and be right back. Turns out I had another problem with my ash system here, so I had to fix a caravan real quick. So 2 problems at once, one that I didn't even know about. And then the last thing that I want to tackle is cleaning up my iron areas. There's a couple of miners and belts and stuff like that that need to be adjusted to make sure that I keep producing. I need to keep my iron flowing, at least until we get to logistics science and better iron processing, really better iron processing, and then I can start depending on that rather than these old systems. But I'll still be mining out several tens of millions of iron ore before we get to that. Need to keep making cotton guts. I checked what I will have to have for the next stage, and I'll need about 9,000 total cotton gut studs. I've already got 2,000 set up in my cotton gut stud area and another 5,000 here, but I still need to keep this going if I don't want to have another cotton guts build later on. And I'd really like to not have to set this thing up again, at least not for a long while. So that's what I'm doing here. Now off to clean up this iron area, and yeah, look at it. I think this is a running gag that this iron area is dying, but it really is dying. Anyway, I'm gonna clean this up, get rid of some crushers, and be back soon. All right, and that takes care of this area, at least for now. There is one more thing I want to do, and that is another Simon base correction. He loves spotting this stuff, and he's very good at it. But this ash belt that I added to the Glassworks assemblers is unnecessary. I had planned ahead. I had wood coming in through here, and then I forgot entirely about it. So yeah, this is being fed by wood and should be marked to be fed by wood, so this ash line was totally unnecessary. All right, I think this is the last of the cleanup work that I want to do this episode. The bots are not complaining about too much. There are, I'm sure, a few things that I will need to deliver up there, but delivering stuff to bots is not how I want to play the game. The bots should do the work automatically, and I've got a plan on how I want that accomplished. But you'll have to see that next episode, because for this episode, I think I'm going to wrap up. Let's go into hands-off mode. Yeah. So in the future, besides what I just hinted at, we're going to be aiming for logistics science really soon. So I'm excited to get to that. Now, there's still a lot of Pi 1 science that I want to finish, some of which I started and then changed my mind about, clearly. The reason I want to get to logistics science before I finish all this research is twofold. One, I'll be able to start some researches that are really, really useful, like better iron processing. I'll be able to pile up logistics science while I'm finishing off these researches. And I think I'll have the power. Like, I don't actually need this, because once I turn on this entire AUG build, I'll have an, where is it? Yeah. Once I add all of these AUG power generators, I'll have another almost gigawatt of power ready to go. And I'm not using it right now. Like, turns out my power situation is fine. Like, the power is maxed out now. Of course, that's because I'm no longer running aluminum, probably. Yeah, I'm no longer running aluminum because I'm not making moss farms. So on that front, things are fine. I should be running this really fast, but I guess I have this covered. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. We'll do some exciting stuff next time. See you then.